Hello, everybody. Brad Johnson here, and welcome to another episode of the Adronis Archive. And in this episode, Adronis is going to come through and speak about life as a core being. And so, as long as you decide to live upon the surface of your reality, you will always enter a state of confusion. Because to be upon the surface within yourself is to rely entirely upon your physical senses, is to rely entirely relating to your logic, to your rationality, to your practicality. And that only serves, again, a very minute portion as you term life. So let's imagine that we have a very big shovel, and now we're starting to dig. We're going deeper and deeper past the surface reality. We're taking the shovel, we're putting it into the earth, and we are continuing to scoop out a large amount of dirt and toss it aside. And we keep digging, and we keep digging, and we keep digging. All of a sudden we find a very old, rotted treasure chest. And we pull that treasure chest out. And now we open up that treasure chest, and it represents the distortion of our own trauma. And saying that if you want to continue to dig, you need to firstly look at what this treasure chest is attempting to tell you. It is the trauma of abandonment or rejection or abuse. And all that is required out of you is to love that aspect of yourself that you decide to put in a dirty, old, rotten treasure chest. So as you look at that and as you start to witness what that treasure chest is telling you, you now come into the realization of humility. And through humility, you accept this essence contained inside this rotten old treasure chest. Because you go deeply within. You see a shadow of yourself that has been deeply neglected, and you therefore embrace it like a mother would to her newborn child. And now that treasure chest starts to glow. It starts to get brighter and lighter. And now that treasure chest becomes golden. It transforms into something magnificent. And now that treasure chest bonds together with you because you have been able to make amends. You have been able to make peace with the trauma that you have held onto for so very long. Because this is what creates the extremes within your life. This is what creates the misery. Is holding on to the treasure chest forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, feeling that I'm not good enough to be this. I can't do this. I can't take care of that. There's nothing I feel I can do. I'm hopeless. And so we basically state that, again, you have volunteered to make yourself miserable. And the reason why you have done that is because you have seen other people within your life who have been equally miserable. And in your youth, you look at those people and you see how they're suffering, and you feel the only way you can actually build a relationship with them is if you suffer alongside them. Oh, I know exactly what you're going through because I feel hopeless too. I feel I can't do anything. I feel I'm a misfit. And so therefore, you partner up, you pair up together with the idea of being reciprocal to being in misery. That's why you do it. You want to relate to people. You want to build rapport. After all, humans are a social species. And so the only way you feel you can actually bond with another person is to voluntarily suffer like they are. But that's not the way it is. It's never been that way. Look in the idea about what takes the least amount of effort to do. It takes the least amount of effort to accept something, to love someone, to have compassion. Because compassion comes through the ability to surrender from suffering. So when you are no longer suffering, it's because you have surrendered and accepted all of these aspects of your shadow that are contained in these rotten old treasure chests. You have come to terms with them. You have brought them into an embrace. And now they've become golden. Now you have aligned yourself to love, compassion, and forgiveness. And now it's no longer about feeling that you need to relate to one who is suffering, because now you are their pick-me-ups. Instead of going over to that person and saying, oh, I know how you feel because I feel miserable too. I feel awful as well. I feel useless also. Again, you're both down in the dumps. But now you go up to that person and saying, we're not going to be hopeless anymore because we are powerful beings. There are gods that exist within, past this shell that we call physical reality. Take my hand. Let me show you something. And now you show them the grace and the love that you have through yourself and remind them that this is within them too. And they see it. Because it all just starts with a simple example. We ask you, is there simply one person who you mainly have respect for within your life? The answer is yes. Very good. Because you have respect for that one person, that shows that there is love within your being. So just by having respect for one person, you have that very love that gets you out of the bind of suffering. You just need that spark, that little ounce of joy. Now there may be someone that says, well, Adronis, I don't even know if I respect anybody. All right. Has there ever been a moment within your life that you have at least smirked? Oh, yes, of course. Well, there you go. That's a spark of joy right there. And now you start to build that up and build that up and build that up, make it bigger and bigger and stronger and lighter and lighter. And now that smirk becomes a full-out smile. All you have to do is find that little piece on the ground that says, I have at least been joyful about this. I have respected at least one person here. And that is allowing your fire to be emerging. You're able to now start a fire. And now you start to feed that fire as it relates to love, compassion, forgiveness. And now you become a core being because you start living through that frequency. Because it can be very, very easy for you to be happy for about 30 seconds and then go back into the stupor where you feel that you are miserable once again. You had a strong fire and all of a sudden you put it out. Because you have become so addicted to your own inadequacies. You have become so addicted to misery, it has become your drug. You have become so addicted to trauma, it becomes your fix. That you are basically, in that sense, feeling that when other people feel sorry for you, you have your own dopamine injection for the day. That's why so many of you wallow in the idea of misery. Because you actually like other people feeling sorry for you. It becomes a high for you. It's your fix. It's the dopamine for the day. So again, that gets you nowhere. Just like a drug addict is basically clinging to his drug and thinking that that's his entire life, it's hurting him each and every single time he uses it. Well, the same thing goes with you. That each time you feel miserable, he or she is feeling truly damaged each and every single time. And you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the surface, not the core. Because what you're doing is you're involuntarily digging these holes and putting these small, rotten treasure chests of aspects of yourself that you purposely neglect. And so you keep them buried. But it's like you're sleepwalking. You don't even know that you're doing it. Until you start taking that shovel and synchronistically start digging and throwing those piles of dirt behind you until you find all these treasure chests. And you open them up. And now you feel the embrace because now you're willing to change. Because that little spark, once properly nurtured, can become a roaring inferno of love, compassion, and forgiveness. As we have stated before, it's not about having to forgive anybody else. It's all about being able to forgive the very emotion, the very trauma that has caused you to feel miserable, that has caused you to feel sad, that has caused you to feel depressed, that has caused you to feel angry, that has caused you to feel rejected, abandoned, abused. And when you finally do that, you now dig so big of a hole that you're now going into your core self, and life becomes very, very sensitive, which means you're able to pick up on the smallest bits of distortions that are coming into your reality. You're now becoming very, very aware of other people's feelings. You're becoming aware of other people's thoughts. You're becoming aware of the collective momentum. You're looking at the tides, the currents of the collective, because you have gone so deeper into yourself, and because you have gone so deeper into yourself, you're now able to feel everything. That's what happens when you become a core being. When you're a core being, you have a responsibility. You need to be aware of your thoughts as to not sabotage yourself, as to not sabotage others, as to be mindful in regards to the currents of energy that are taking you to the greater depth perspective of yourself. So to move into being a core being truly is to function as a heart-centered being. And that's where you're going as a fourth density race. So this is what happens when people start to dig that hole. They go deeper and deeper into the core of themselves, but they don't seem to realize that what's actually happening is giving them a greater sensitivity to the awareness of energies that are coming upon your planet. And because you do not really know how to responsibly work with these energies as a transmuter, you therefore may go stir crazy. You may start to pull the hair out of your head because you don't know what's going on. What is required when a person decides to go into the core of their own being is the ability to be responsible for the feeling of the energies that have come through that may represent conflict that you have spent a great deal of time lovingly, compassionately, forgiving. Keep it up. Don't just say, oh, well, that's my fix right there. That's me fixing all this stuff. That's me just having to do all that love and compassion, and that's it. No, it doesn't stop. You keep bringing compassion. You keep bringing love. You keep bringing forgiveness forward. You keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going. It's not about the idea where you're only digging about 100 meters, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, I stopped. I haven't reached the core, but I guess I should stop anyways. No. What's stopping you? Keep going. Keep digging. Keep entrenching yourself into your core nature, because that's what's going to elevate you. By digging deeper, you become elevated. You become uplifted because you're taking responsibility for everything that you have been able to heal through yourself. And you are noticing that when those situations start to intensify, don't throw in the towel. Continue to be stronger, because this requires a continual effort from you. You are still digging. You are still working. You are still manifesting yourself as a core being. It doesn't stop. So when you go deeper and deeper into the core of yourself, yes, you are going to be highly energetically sensitive, but you are also developing yourself to become more powerfully responsible. So when you notice that challenging situations are coming through, what did you do with your other shadow traumas that allowed them to come into the light? You brought love, compassion, and forgiveness forward. And that's what's required here. That needs to be a continual thing. That needs to be persistently practiced through yourself. And that's how you move yourself to becoming a core being. So a core being will keep digging. They will become more sensitive. They will be aware of the energies upon the horizon. They will start to learn how to speak without speaking. What we mean by that is that the words become themselves when they leave your lips. You don't really have thoughts anymore. You have the aspect of impressions. You follow those impressions, otherwise known as the decision process through the heart. That's what happens to a core being. If you decide to dig, you will not be able to stop digging. Because if you do stop digging and you become wholly sensitized to all the challenges that are coming together through your life, there's going to be a washout. There's going to be all this water that's going to come out through your digging hole, and it's going to push you back up to the surface. And you need to jump back down again to continue where you left off. Be mindful of that. So, look into how you can be compassionate to people. If you are truly compassionate to people, you're not focusing on what you feel doesn't serve them or doesn't serve yourself. You're focusing on giving them the greatest blessings possible. Even people who you may feel may be disruptive or chaotic or greedy or manipulative. And if you feel that's too much, then don't even acknowledge them at all. Let it go. Oh, what do you think about Donald Trump today? Well, if you can't give any particular form of love and compassion and appreciation for this being, then just let him go. Move him aside and keep walking. It is very, very important that as a core being, you are doing no harm. This includes your thoughts. This includes your words. This includes your actions. It's not just saying, oh, well, I'm just saying this little thing. There is no little thing. When you put that intention of illness towards somebody else, it is felt, even if it doesn't matter, like you think it's a small thought. It's still something you're putting forward, and you are abusing another by doing that. So be very mindful of how you conceive your thoughts, where you direct them, the aspect of your voice, even when you're typing on a computer, even when you're saying something out loud. It's all energy. And you will always get some reciprocation of that energy that you put out towards another person. It is not about pointing fingers at a blame game and saying, well, Adronis, this person did that. Don't go there. Because that's not going to do anything. You're going to spend so much of your time pointing fingers and feeling that it's this person's fault, rather than looking at the aspect of resolution. Oh, well, if this happens, well, then I'm going to focus on this. And I'm going to make this happen to improve my life and to help others, to show them exactly how it can improve theirs. There you go. Masterfully done. That's the idea of a core being's doing. So remember this as you start to dig the trench for you to understand the core nature of yourself, because that in itself is the venture to fourth density.